Thank you, Judge. Good morning. Could you please state your name for the record?
Shannon Harris,
And Ms. Harris, how old are you?
31.
And back on January, or in January 2024, where did you live?
With my mom. Resides with my mother.
With your mother? Okay, who's your mom?
And then Harris.
And without telling me the exact address, what street did you live on?
There.
And do you have any children?
Yes.
How many kids do you have?
5.
And do all your kids have the same dad?
Yes.
Who's their dad?
Jarvis Butts.
And do you see Jarvis Butts in the courtroom today?
Yes.
And can you point to him and tell me the color of the clothing that he's wearing?
Green. No. Green.
Green. Your Honor, would the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant in this case?
So reflected.
Thank you, Judge. And you said your mom's name is Annette. Do you have any sisters?
Yes, 2.
What are their names?
Kenyatta Harris and Marquita Harris.
Are they older, younger, or something else?
Older. Marquita is a twin. She's my twin, same age.
Okay. And Kenyatta is older?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any nieces and nephews?
Yes.
Do you know someone named Neziah Harris?
Yes.
What's your relationship to her?
My relationship to her, she is my niece from her aunt.
Okay. And whose daughter is she?
My older sister is Kenyatta Harris.
And did you have any nicknames for Neziah?
Yes. We all called her Tutta.
And is that Tudda?
Yes.
And did Neziah ever know Jarvis through you?
Yes.
Okay. And when did Neziah and Jarvis first meet?
When she was little, like age 2.
And can you kind of describe the relationship between Neziah and Jarvis?
Should be just the uncle and the niece relationship, no more than that.
How often would Jarvis be around, like at your house with you?
He will call or say, can he come see the kids, or the kids will ask him to see their dad, and he will come pull up either to my house where I used to live or at my mother's.
Would Neziah ever be around?
All the kids will be around.
To your knowledge, would Neziah ever text Jarvis?
From my knowledge, no, unless I will have her to text.
But to your knowledge, you didn't know of any kind of separate outside relationship?
No.
Would there ever be times where, where did you know Jarvis Butts to work?
Pardon?
Where did you know Jarvis Butts to work?
Where did I know him to work at?
Yes.
He worked at 2 different locations. The first location would be on East Warren, and the other location would be on Gresham.
And what were those locations?
Those are the auto repair shop.
Okay. Would you ever know Neziah to help Jarvis Butts at his shop?
Yes, he will call me and say, hey, if I can get our daughter and Neziah, I'm gonna work up at the shop. And I would say, let me ask my mom first regarding Neziah.
And which daughter of yours would that be?
That would be my oldest, Janiyah.
Okay. Would you ever know Neziah to go to Jarvis's shop alone?
No.
Whose birthday is on or around September of 26?
That's my 4th oldest birthday.
Do you recall a birthday party on September 26th of 2022?
Yes.
Okay. And was Jarvis there?
No.
Okay. And that would have been his son's birthday party?
Yes.
Were there ever times times that you would text Jarvis off of a text now number?
Only time I would text Jarvis off the text now number is if my phone is off. Other than that, no.
And do you recall the numbers that you would text Jarvis from?
Yes.
Okay. And does a 586-510-5161 sound familiar?
Yes.
And what number is that?
That used to be my old number.
And is that number that you would text Jarvis from?
Yes.
And what about a 586-842-4504?
That was the number before this number.
Before the 510 number?
Correct.
Okay. And is that a number you would also text Jarvis from?
Correct.
And what number did you have for Jarvis Butts?
The 313-585-8719.
And did you have any numbers for Neziah?
It was a funny looking area code. The area code was a 231.
Okay. I want to show you some messages from People's Exhibit 16 and ask you some questions about them, okay?
Yeah.
You're in a man approach?
Yes.
I'm going to direct you to messages on or about June 27th, 2023. Do you recall those messages? Did you send any of those messages to Jarvis Butts?
No.
And do you know a phone number here that's highlighted? Whose phone number do you know that to be?
Jarvis Butts.
Okay, and you don't recall ever sending any of those messages?
No.
Okay. And now I want to direct you to messages from June 28th, 2023. How about any of these? Did you send any of these to Jarvis Butts?
No.
What about any messages from July 2nd, 2023? Did you send any of those messages?
No.
What about messages from August 26th, 2023? Send any of those to Jarvis Butts?
I'm sorry, you said 26.
August 26th.
No. These aren't my messages.
Did Jarvis Butts ever tell you that Neziah texted him to meet up on January 9th, 2024?
No.
Did you tell Jarvis Butts about not being able to locate Messiah on January 9th, 2024?
Yes.
And tell me, how did you tell him that?
I called him, he didn't answer. I sent him a message asking him had he seen Twitter any whereabouts, and he said no Twitter, and he responded back.
I didn't hear what you said, the last part.
I texted him, well, first I called him, he didn't answer. The second time I sent him a message, still no Twitter. He replied back, oh, wow.
Okay, thank you.
And may I approach?
Yes.
And just for record references, I'm showing you what's going to be proposed, People's Exhibit 48. Ms. Harris, those text messages that you just referenced, do you see those on this page?
Yes.
And so it's fair to say you stated to Mr. Butts, well, first of all, whose phone number is this at the top?
The phone number is my old phone number.
Okay, and who is the phone number below that?
Jarvis Butts.
Okay. And is this, I guess, is this fairly and accurately represent these two messages? Six messages sent between you and Mr. Butts on January 9th, 2024 through January 11th, 2024.
The first page is, yes, it's correct. Second page is correct. Yes.
And so on January 9th, like you had indicated before, you had stated that you told them that there was still no touch.
Correct.
Okay. And you said he responded, oh, wow.
Correct.
And on January 11th, is I still missing?
Yes.
Okay. And did you ask Mr. Butts to do something?
Yeah. At this point, I just asked that if she's going to read from the text message, she just initiated.
I
Have an
can't.
issue with moving to that?
No, Judge. It is fairly and accurately represent text messages between you and your phone to Jarvis and his phone between this start back earlier. Some from December 3rd, 2023 through January 21st of 2024. These fairly and accurately represent text messages
Yes.
between your phone to Mr. Butts and his phone.
Yes.
Your Honor, for the admission of people's proposed exhibit 48. No objection.
Okay, there'll be a minute.
Thank you. So on January 11th, did you ask Mr. Butts to do something?
Yes.
And what is it that you asked him to do?
I asked him, can he share the missing flyer on his Facebook page?
Okay. And did you send him a copy of that missing flyer?
Yes.
Okay. And to backtrack just a little bit, on December 3rd, 2023, do you recall sending messages asking Mr. Butts if he needed the Zion for anything?
Yes, I do remember.
Okay. So do you remember this text on the first page of People's Exhibit 48?
Yes, I do remember this message.
Okay. And did you send that message?
Yes.
Okay. And what did the message say?
To the said, do you still need her? To,
Okay. And do you know what was that referring to?
it was, Tilla had asked me to contact Jarvis and see if he still needed them.
And that would be to clean up his shop?
Yeah,
Okay. And to fast forward, on January 21st, 2024, you sent some messages to Mr. Butts, is that fair to say?
yeah.
Okay, and can you read these last 3 messages?
The first 3 messages is, to be honest, these messages have seen into the inbox to you. I really don't know what to believe anymore. Still Ray Ramon, I mean it. The next message is, I don't know what to say, or Tilla is on. Says this shit doesn't sit right with me. Call it what you want. I'm good, period. It says, this for life. Nigga, I thought about it, and you can pass it. And don't call me, no need to explain shit. I already see it.
Okay, so you were referencing some messages that you saw in Tilla's inbox.
Correct.
Tell me, how did you see some messages? First of all, where are these messages, where were they at?
The day of, Officer Gardner gave me to pick up Nazaya's tablet. My mom asked me to put it on the charger. I put it on the charger. Officer Gardner, well, after that, Officer Gardner called and said she's on her way.
This is hearsay.
Without saying what?
Okay, I'm sorry. The officer had called and said that they was on their way.
Still hearsay.
The tablet.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Sustain, as far as hearsay.
yeah, thank you, Judge. Okay, continue.
So the tablet, before the tablet was picked up, I looked inside to the tablet. She has 2 passwords that I normally know. So one of them is referenced for her brother's birthday, and the other one is referenced for my password. So I put the first password in, it didn't work. So I put the second password in. So the first thing I went to was Instagram, which I was scrolling. And I seen Jarvis Butts' Instagram page. I clicked on his page and I seen 2 messages.
Okay, and what were the messages that you saw? Well, who were they between, first of all?
Nazaya, my niece, and Jarvis.
Okay, and what were the messages that you see?
It was roughly 2 messages that I have seen that I can recall. States.
I'm gonna object to this as hearsay. They have not been admitted, and the messages themselves would be the evidence.
Were they of any, were the messages of a sexual nature?
No.
Okay, and you said you saw 2 messages.
Yes.
Okay, did you see anything else?
It was 2 sent pictures, but you can't really make anything out. There wasn't nothing there, but it was a picture was sent.
Okay. What did seeing those messages, what did they cause you to do?
Well, when I seen no messages, I called him.
Who's that?
Jarvis Butts.
Okay.
Called him while he was at work, asked him what these messages I seen between you and my niece. And he said, what messages? Said it's 2 particular messages that states out in this picture. And he stated that, I don't know, these messages, I told him what the messages were. And he said it was probably our children's messaging. And I stated no, because I know how our children will text.
Okay. And reading those messages, is that what caused you to text
Mr. Butts?
Mr.
Yes.
Butts, in that you've seen the messages in the inbox and you don't really know what to believe anymore?
Correct.
Okay. So, Sharon, I want to take you back to January 9th. Were you home that day?
Yes.
Okay. And did you see Naziah that day?
Well, I seen her just that morning, correct.
Okay. And do you remember what she was wearing at all?
Her coat and her uniform at the time She had on some blue jeans. I don't really recall the outfit. I just know the coat
Okay.
she had.
And what was the coat that she had on?
She had on is a nineties coat with all the characters on it.
And you recall seeing her wearing that the morning of January 9th?
Correct.
And Your Honor, may I approach, was already admitted, exhibit 2?
Yes.
To show you was exhibit 2. You tell me, do you recognize a coat in this photo?
Yes.
And whose coat do you recognize that?
Ms. Ayers.
Okay. Now, after you were when you saw Isaiah that morning, what did you do the rest of the morning?
Nothing. I was at home with my mom and my 2 children.
And do you ever leave the house at any point that day?
No. I was at the house the whole entire day.
And do you know what time Isaiah would normally get home from school?
On certain days, she will stay for after school, and then on certain days she will come home. The days she will stay for after school is 6. And the days that she don't is at 3 o'clock.
And on January 9th, do you know if Isaiah had the after-school program?
Yes. At that time, my mom took her out of the after-school program. So she will come home directly at 3 o'clock.
Okay, and were you home at 3 o'clock?
Yes.
And did you see Isaiah come home?
No.
Okay. And did you see her come home at all the rest of the night?
No.
Okay. Did you leave at any point after 3 o'clock?
No.
Did you, yes, when Isaiah didn't come home, did that cause you to experience or feel any type of way?
It did. When she didn't come home is when my mom went to go pick up the other 2 children from the after school program. They knocked on the door and they had asked a question and said,
Objection, sounds like you're saying.
One minute. You have a response or?
A question is a hearsay. Okay.
I think she said.
It's just a question.
I think she was getting ready to say a question. Okay.
What was the question? that was asked?
The 2 children had asked me, Mom said,
That's the hearsay.
did Isaiah come home?
The hearsay is mom said.
Okay, so were you asked directly whether Isaiah came home?
So my mom was in the car, I was inside the house. They was coming to the house, walking up to the door. When I opened the door, they asked me, Mom said, did Isaiah come home? I said, no.
And wasn't Isaiah home at all?
No.
Okay. And did you do any sort of looking for Isaiah that night?
Yes.
What did you do?
I called my twin sister. I called some of her friends that I know that stays close by. If they had seen Isaiah, heard from Isaiah and everything. And when I reached out to my sister, she said no. Her friend said no. So after that, I asked my mom, and she wanted me to call police. She said no, she will take it up in the morning.
Shannon, did you know Isaiah to have a pair of red and black Nike shoes?
Yes.
And if I showed you a picture of them, you'd be able to identify them.
Yes.
Commissioner, may I approach?
Yes.
And for the record, this is going to be from People's Proposed Exhibit 14, and it'll be picture 34. Do you recognize these shoes?
Yes, that's a pair of shoes that my mom bought for her birthday.
Now, back on the 9th, you said, your mom was going to file a police report in the morning.
Sure.
Okay, did you go with her to file a police report in the morning?
No, it was my older sister.
Did you do anything on the 10th as it relates to trying to find Isaiah?
Yes, we went out, I and, some others went out to go get some pictures, made copies. We went to the store, special flyers and everything that we need to do. Now, what was actually to do.
And since January 9th, 2024, have you seen Isaiah?
No,
Have you, since January 9th, 2024, have you heard from Isaiah?
no.
Nothing further at this time, Judge.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Harris, I also have some questions. You and Mr. Butts have been, or you've known him for about 12 years?
Correct.
And fair to say that you were in a dating relationship with him most of that time? But towards the end, like last year, it was more off and on, fair to say?
No, it was on and off years.
For years, okay. But you have 5 children with him?
Correct.
And this relationship that you had with him, even towards the end when it was a sexual relationship, right?
Correct.
Sometimes you go to a motel to have sex with him,
Correct. Yes.
and that motel was the Park Rest Inn.
Or sure.
There was more than one,
Yes.
but one of them was the Park Rest. Said yes,
Correct.
and that's in Harper Woods
Correct.
on Harper.
Correct.
Okay. Do you know if Mr. Butts, or do you suspect that Mr. Butts has taken other women to those motels also?
Correct.
You do.
Mm,
I believe you said that you have, of your 5 children with him, 2 are girls
yes.
and 3 are boys.
Correct.
And in January of this time, well, January 2023, you were living with your mother on Bedford, correct?
Correct.
Prior to that, were you living in Clinton Township?
Correct.
When did you leave the Clinton Township home and move to the Bedford home?
October 23rd.
And so there were times when you were in Clinton Township that Mr. Butts would travel out there to see the kids.
Correct.
And then when you moved to the Bedford address, he would go to the Bedford address to see the kids.
Correct.
And then the Bedford address is when Isaiah was also living there, correct?
Correct.
And I believe you just testified that on January the 9th, you were living at that house on Bedford, and you were there during the day.
Correct.
And so were you one of the first people that realized that Isaiah did not come home when she was expected to be home?
No, I didn't realize it until I had got a question by the other kids that asked that I have Isaiah came home yet, or have it, and I said no.
Do you remember what time that was in the afternoon?
That was in the evening. My mom picked them up 6 o'clock.
So that was about 3 hours later than she normally should have been home?
Correct.
Was that surprising?
Yes, it was. One, we thought that she was at the after school program, but it didn't dawn on no one until my mom came back to the house and she wasn't here or she wasn't in the car when they had gotten.
So when you all realized that she wasn't at school and she wasn't at home, was that surprising?
Yes,
But you didn't go to the police that night.
no,
She ever not returned home previously?
no, this is her first time ever doing this.
Did she have friends in the neighborhood, that she would go visit?
Yes,
And you said, I think, are those the folks that you contacted to ask?
yes.
You were just shown a pair of red and black Nike shoes, right?
Correct.
And, you identified those shoes as being Nazia's shoe. Is that correct?
Correct.
It's a shoe that looks like the shoe that Nazia is wearing, correct?
Correct.
You can't say for sure that that exact
Yes.
shoe came from Nazia, is that fair to say?
Correct.
And I think you testified that very rarely would you ever use text now to contact Mr. Butts.
Right.
Only if your phone was turned off,
Right.
and that was not very often.
Right.
Would Nazia ever have access to your phone to use it?
Yes, now she will ask, hey, TT, can I see your phone? Sure, I would not, yes.
And so would she text from that phone?
Probably, yes.
Did you ever notice any text from
No,
her on your phone?
no.
Did you ever notice that she had used your Text Now app?
No, the only time when, I would notice something is say if me and Jarvis would, we won't be on the same page in eye to eye, and I will call him and say, why you will call me, or like, why you continue to keep calling me? And I'll say, I haven't called you all day work, or in 2 days. And I will go ask my kids, like, hey, are y'all calling me like that? Because I haven't called you.
And until you looked in Nazia's Instagram account, did you ever notice anything on your phone that caused you to be concerned between
No,
Nazia and Mr. Butts?
no,
Mr. Buttsby said would come to the house to see his kids. He would drop them off at the house sometimes. He would take them places.
yes,
He would pick Janaya up from there.
like, depending on, like, if he will pick up the kids, if I need him to pick up the kids from the pick up or drop off spot, for school, he will do that, yeah.
And then take them either to Clinton Township when you lived there or to the Bedford Street address.
Correct.
Okay. But most times he wouldn't even come to the house, right?
He will come to the house, he will call me first before he will come.
Would he come into the house physically or would he sit in his truck outside?
50%. He will sit in the car and wait till the kids come outside, or he will knock on the door.
Would he be in the house for any length of time?
Only if I'm inside the house,
Like he was visiting with you?
yes.
So you never knew a time that Mr. Butts would have been alone in the house with Nazia?
No,
Can't think of a time when he had been in the house and had gone down to the basement with her
no,
or any other room in the house alone?
no.
Would Mr. Butts have ever been at that house if another adult, like you or your mother, weren't there?
He will, what you said,
Would Mr. Butts ever be at the house if you or your mother weren't there?
no, it will be me or another person.
The idea that anything was going on between Mr. Butts and Nazia is shocking to you, right?
Correct.
You had no idea.
No,
You never noticed anything between Nazia and Mr. Butts that made you concerned?
no,
You never saw any inappropriate behavior?
not at all.
You didn't notice Mr. Butts paying any special attention to her?
No.
Certainly if you had noticed that, that would have caused you concern.
Yeah, they would have raised a whole bunch of red flags.
Like that you wouldn't have invited him into the house, correct?
Correct.
You found it hard to believe even that Mr. Butts would hurt Messiah.
But I won't know, I don't know, what he will do if a person's back is up against the wall.
But the thought of that was hard for you, at least at one point, to believe, correct?
Sorry.
Now, during the time that you and Mr. Butts were together, he's had children with other women,
Correct.
pretty consistently with other women,
Correct.
more than one woman.
Correct.
Some of those women you actually knew about, correct? They lived kind of even in the same neighborhood on the east side. But you suspect that there were women that you didn't know about?
Correct.
Even one that lived, or more than one that lived over on the west side?
Correct.
You believe he was going out there to see somebody around the end of 2023, January 2024?
Correct.
Before January the 9th, you had a conversation with Messiah about a location on Outer Drive in Belfort,
Yes.
and that was surprising to you, right?
Correct.
That's on the east side of Detroit.
Yes.
Did you end up giving her directions on how to get to that location?
Yes.
Why did you give her directions?
I was just getting out the shower and just getting myself together. She asked me, she said, "Hey, TT," she said, "where is Balfour and Highland Drive?" And I told her, I said, "You know exactly where Balfour and Highland Drive is at." I said, "Highland Drive is right where the wine basket at," and I said, "You know where Balfour is." And she was like, "I get Balfour and Bedford mixed up." So I said, "You already know Balfour is before Bedford." So she said, "Okay." She said, "Because we are in school and we are learning about our surroundings." So I said, "Okay." But that was the only two things that she had asked, was where was my job in Balfour.
Does that location have any special significance to you?
No,
Do you know anybody at that location?
no, the only thing that I'm used to, I'm familiar with is just picking up Jarvis, how to drive in Belfort. It's just on the corner.
On a corner?
Mm-hmm.
Not at an address?
Not an address.
When was this conversation that you had about that location? Do you recall?
This was right before, Ms. Ida went missing.
Like how soon before? Weeks?
Maybe like, it was still like in that same week, she went missing.
Mr. Butts didn't have his own vehicle, fair to say.
No, he didn't.
He generally used,
His female vehicles.
did you know Mr. Butts to park at one location and then walk to another to kind of try to remain undetected?
Pretty much, yes.
So would it be not out of the ordinary for you to have to pick him up at a random, or what seemed to be a random location to you?
Correct.
You lived with Messiah for, you said, from about October until January the 9th.
Correct.
So you spent a lot of time around her.
Yes.
You knew her mannerisms,
Yes.
her demeanor,
Yes.
her moods.
Yes.
Did anything strike you as out of the ordinary about how she was acting at any point in time in December or January before she disappeared?
No, Desire, nothing has changed. Her character, none of that. She was just the same one as I am. Nothing was different.
Messiah has a brother, right?
Yes.
Is it an older brother?
Yes.
No, he had run away in 2023, is that right?
Yes.
Is it something that had bothered her or something that she was feeling at the time? Could cause a change in her demeanor? She did have a brother that ran away,
Correct.
and was that something that she struggled with?
She didn't like that her, brother was running away. Yes, she didn't like it.
Around the same time, around the time, December, January, was her mother supposed to come visit, her biological mother?
Yes,
Did she end up coming to see Naziah?
yes,
She did. Did Naziah seem to have some big emotions about that contact?
yes,
Complicated, fair to say?
yes,
Did she talk to you about that?
all the time.
Did you notice anything? You said you didn't notice anything in a change in mood. So,
No,
what about physically?
no,
I don't have anything else, thank you.
Did you go to the Park Crest Inn on January 9th, 2024?
No. no,
And fair to say, you knew of Mr. Butts having other female friends,
yes,
and even some that you didn't know about. Okay, so would it be fair to say that you don't always know, or you didn't always know what Mr. Butts was doing?
no,
You couldn't account for his whereabouts every minute of the day?
no,
Did you know him to, one of those cars that he would use, did you know him to have a white Escalade type truck?
correct, yes,
And you were asked some questions about Outer Drive and Bell. Fair to say, from what I gathered, the only connection you have to that area is Jarvis Butts.
correct,
Okay, so he's the only one you would associate with that area.
correct.
And you knew Mr. Butts to have other children,
Correct,
okay, and you knew him to clearly have gotten other women pregnant.
correct.
And to your knowledge, were all those women adults?
To my knowledge, yes,
Did he, to you, ever hide getting another woman pregnant?
no,
Nothing further, Director.
You are going to testify, please watch yourself.